Hello, fellow adventurers, and welcome to a special quest at a place of mystery and history called Coronado Heights. It's a 300-foot high sandstone bluff in a chain of formations known as the Smoky Hills. Coronado Heights is famous for being the spot where Spanish explorer Francisco Vasquez Coronado abandoned his search for the 7 cities of gold. This rumor was confirmed in 1915 when a professor from the nearby town of Lindsborg found chainmail from Renaissance-era Spanish armor. Also excavated at Indian sites nearby were spear tips and metallic arrowheads of European influence. In 1920, the first road ascending the hill was built. And in 1936, the people of Lindsborg built a stone picnic shelter resembling a Spanish castle. And it's here that our investigation will take place, because people say this hill is haunted. You see, at the base of Coronado Heights is a graveyard filled with the bones of old Swedish settlers from the village of Lindsborg. And it's also said to hold the resting place of conquistadors who died alone and lost in the vast wilderness. Many who have stood atop the tower at night and looked down below to the cemetery report seeing movement in the dark. The castle's chamber is also a paranormal hotspot, with innumerable accounts of shadows moving, silhouettes in the window openings, and the overwhelming feeling of chills on the castle's staircase. In the 1990s, people from the nearby city of Salina went missing while visiting Coronado Heights. There are also strange occult symbols carved into the western cliffside, and urban legends of strange rituals by robed figures in the night. And the scariest tale of all, how a group of teenagers from the city of Salina went to the castle one night and dared each other to walk across the top edge of the castle. One boy almost made it to the end, but then a sudden gust of wind pushed him over the side, and plummeting to his doom on the jagged cliff below. Perhaps that's why the most common unexplained phenomena at Coronado Heights is the sound of a disembodied scream. Now, come along as we begin our investigation. She's gone. Who shared my diadem, she sunk, with her my joys entombing. I swept that flower from Judas' stem, whose leaves for me alone were blooming. When rendered to Rome, 'twas the last sun went down, the last glance I gave to thy wall. I looked for thy temple, and forgot for a moment my bondage to come. I beheld but the death fire that fed on thy fane, and the fast-fettered hands that made vengeance. We sat down and wept by the waters of Babel, thought of the day when our foe in the hue of his slaughters made Salem's high places his prey. And ye, O her desolate daughters, were scattered and weeping, while we gazed on the river which rolled in freedom below. like the leaves of the forest when summer is green, that host with their banners at sunset. Like the leaves of the forest when autumn hath blown, that host on the morrow lay withered. For the angel of death spreads his wings on the blast, breathed in the face of the foe as he passed. And there lay the rider distorted and pale, with dew on his brow, rust on his mail. The tents were all silent and the banners alone, the lances unlifted, the widows of Asher were loud in their wail, and the idols are broke in the temple, and the might of the Gentile and smote by the sword hath melted like snow in the glance. A spirit passed before me on the day of the destruction of Jerusalem. By the rivers of Babylon we sat down and wept. The legend of the lost kingdom of gold began in 1540, when a Catholic priest who had once been kidnapped by American Indians told stories of a vast empire of fabulous wealth on the Great Plains of North America. The story became known as the Seven Cities of Gold, and in 1540, a Spanish noble named Coronado assembled an army of 400 men and began an expedition north to hunt this treasure in what is now known as the American West, a place never before seen by European eyes, rumored to cradle riches beyond the dreams of avarice. Along the way, Coronado encountered and conquered Zuni, Apache, and Pueblo Indians. But he did not find any of the precious gold and silver he was desperately seeking. Until one day, he met an unusual stranger the Spaniards referred to as the Turk. This mystery man told Coronado the treasure he sought was far away, hidden in the northern plains, in an empire called Quivira. The Spanish spent months traversing the landscape until they reached the X on the Turks' map of directions. 7 great hills along the Smoky Hill River, and the last one being the tallest, Coronado Heights. And when the intrepid explorer finally reached the top of the hill, he looked out and could see miles in every direction, and he saw nothing. The legend of Quivira and its gold would remain a legend. Modern historians believe the man called the Turk was actually a Wichita Indian who misdirected the conquistadors away from his tribe in the hopes they would get lost and perish on the frontier. Coronado, after years of marching, was broken and devastated. With only a few soldiers left, he returned to Mexico City, and he was charged with war crimes and stripped of his nobility. He died in obscurity a few years later, but his atrocities still haunt the Smoky Hill Valley. Some wonder if the screaming herd at Coronado Heights could be the man himself, or the ghosts of his men-at-arms, or even a curse by the mythical Quiviran Indians to scare away invaders from their hidden cities of gold. Wahahaha. And this was their fortress. It is now known to be one of the haunted places of the Great Prairie. There have many stories of ghosts right here in this castle. Imagine it. The time of the explorers, with their spears and javelins. Soldiers with bows and arrows, fighting against wild natives. Swordsmanship, pulling out their swords and shields. Then to get these battalions with arrows. We have a surprise for the ghosts today. We're going to be using the thermo imaging gun. Just get this baby fired up. Come on, don't do this to me. We are now standing in the great hall of this castle and preparing to engage with the thermo imaging device. You gotta be kidding me. This was working at the house. No. The thermo imaging camera. This device will help us locate any invisible apparitions or spirits that may be floating inside the castle. By the way, we can use your help. If you see anything, let us know. Because something can go crazy here at any moment. Right now, everything looks as cold. Oh, wait a moment. Oh my God, what is that thing? Señor Coronado. Me llamo es Tomas. We've heard you are one bad honcho. And we're here to see what's going on. We're here to engage your ghost army. We've heard many tales of your mischief. Show us how it works.
No.
What was that? Show us how it works.
No.
What was that? Making a notation for the investigation, we heard something snap.
I just heard the phone.
I did too. I think it's time to activate the elf zone. And you may do the honors.
Okay.
To fill in the audience, show us how it works.
No.
What was that? Show us how it works.
No.
What was that? Show us how it works.
No.
What was that? Making a notation for the investigation chronicles.
Interesting hot spot right there, isn't there?
Oh my. Oh my, something is active. Something's watching us. Wait, does that look like eyes?
It's clearly. Oh.
Oh! It looks like two eyes. Oh heavens. This is getting serious.
Another thump.
Any readings yet on the elf zone device?
Not as of yet. Just getting started.
What could those thuds and thumps have been? a soldier. The life of a conquistador. You would have been a good conquistador, Julianna.
Thank you.
I mean that. What do we got in the rest of the castle here? Okay, we can see the windows, but that means it's working. Do you see any other anomalies?
No, that's good.
It may be that the ghosts are on the run. We may have to chase them around outside a bit. We're not giving up.
No.
These ghosts don't want to play nice? Well, guess what? We can play hardball. And this is not our first rodeo. And this is not my first time mixing metaphors either. I do that on a regular basis. So get your fishing pole out, because we're gonna be here all day. When coldness wraps this suffering clay, whither strays the immortal mind, it cannot die. It cannot stay, but leaves its darkened dust behind. Then unembodied doth it trace, by steps each planet's heavenly way, or fill at once the realms of space. A thing of eyes, eternal, boundless, undecayed, a thought unseen but seeing all. All in earth or skies displayed shall it survey, shall it recall each fainter trace that memory holds, so darkly of departed years. In one broad glance the soul beholds, and all that was at once appears. Son of the sleepless, melancholy star whose tearful beam glows tremulously far, how like art thou to joy remembered? So gleams the past, the light of other days, which shines, but warms not with its powerless rays. A night beam sorrow watcheth to behold, distinct, but distant, clear, but oh, how cold. The feeling up here just changed. And the feeling on the hill did change that day. It went from ghosts and soldiers to families and fun. I think those little ones had a day that they will not forget. And it's also a day I will not forget. On behalf of Julianna and myself, we want to thank you for joining us on this investigation. And we wish you whatever riches your heart desires. Or at least, we wish you a lovely weekend. Thank you, friends. Good night.